All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the stream. Hope everybody's doing well tonight. We are going to pick up where we left off last time, where I was rudely interrupted by allergies. This time around, I think I'm better. We'll see. Um, no, the allergens and pollens and stuff are rampant around here this time of year, so it kind of hits me a little bit hard. But I think I'm okay for tonight. That being said, we are going to pick up where we left off last time in terms of our item editor. So this time around, I'm hoping to actually get to the point where we can start reading and writing from our quote-unquote database file so that we can at least get item creation started and string creation for our localization and all of that stuff. And then once we have that done, then we can kind of switch over back to the engine side of things, write the import process for that, and continue down that path. So that is kind of the goal for tonight. And yeah, before we jump too much into that, though, I do want to just take a quick second and thank the supporters of the channel, starting with our elite partner, Javier Lazaron. That is the highest tier of subscription over on YouTube memberships and Patreon, followed by our partners, Gabali's Inc. and Matt Oscard. That is the next tier of subscription over there on YouTube memberships and Patreon. Followed finally by our supporters, who are a mix of the other tiers of support over there on YouTube memberships, Patreon, as well as Twitch subscriptions. So thank you all very much for your support. It is greatly appreciated. It is going to help me cover the costs of running this channel, hosting fees, things like that, but also in developing the game, because there are going to be costs associated with that. So I don't have any sponsors or anything like that aside from you guys. So thank you guys very much for that. I really, really appreciate it. And speaking of appreciation, I would not be here, this channel would not be here without you guys, the viewers, whether you're catching us live on the YouTube side or the Twitch side, or if you're catching the VOD after the fact. Thank you guys very much for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you, and without you guys, this wouldn't happen. So, all right. With all of that said, we are going to go ahead and pick up where we left off. And let's see. Let's go ahead and Franzen with the gift subs. Thank you so much for the support there. I appreciate that. That means a heck of a lot to me. Thank you so much. 5 tier 1 gift subs. So if you guys happen to be online, please send a thank you to Froznen for those gift subs. Thank you very much for the support. I really appreciate that. That will go a long way. So thank you. Singy over on the YouTube side, how's it going? Spiro over there as well. Good to see you. Second, yes. Much appreciated, guys. Good to see you as well. Oh, it looks like a hype train started too. Oh, that's pretty good. Second or third. That's funny. Yeah, Spiro, you always wind up being second or third for some reason. Of course, technically, I guess I'm the first one in here, right? Okay, so this is the application that we have so far. So it's just a very, very straightforward thing that we've got here. And so we have the ability to edit items and edit strings, right? So we've got all of these strings available here in different languages. So we can see all of those, even some Japanese ones we've got in here. And if we go back here to items, we can actually go into this and hit edit, and it'll take up the default string that is actually currently applied. I'm going to switch back to English for now. And it looks like we have default string is what is assigned to this guy here. So we probably ought to fix that because the name of, well, I guess we're not really filling this form out yet. I think that's where we actually left off, was filling this form with, oh, right, that's right. We have to click one first. I wonder if I should auto select like this first one. whenever we load the form, so that way we actually see the stuff popping up instead of having like that weird kind of default case that doesn't really have any properties associated with it. That might be the way to go. Okay, the other thing we need to do is, you can see here when we switch items, I think the only thing that we're swapping out is currently the name and the item type. So we actually have to make sure that all of the properties here kind of act the same. The other thing is all of the strings need to act kind of the same as the name does here, right? So when we click between the items, we can see that the ID, as well as a preview of what the string is that's assigned to it, is there. And then we have the edit and use active buttons, which I believe both of those actually work as intended. So we will probably just go ahead and I guess kind of go through all of the other string fields and make them act the same way. All right, so let's start off. I guess we could use this name as sort of our template, right? So we have this guy here. Let's see, string create button. That was another thing I wasn't sure if we were going to. I don't think we're going to have a create, right? We have edit or use active, I think, is going to be all that we're going to use. So let's actually just get rid of this between those guys, right? And then we'll just, there we go. Right, so that should just be that. Okay. So let's take this and use it as our template for description. So I'll go ahead and take this here, and we'll do, we'll just do a replacement on that. And then here, I guess we can go ahead and put a comment in here, right? We can say a free text description of the item. Okay, so this is going to be hype train success. Awesome. Thank you again for that. I appreciate that support. Okay. So instead of item name string value, we're going to have item description string value. So we'll just do that. And then here we'll have description instead of that, right? Instead of name. And I think that's actually all we should probably need to do. At least for here. Nope, there's one more. Right there. And then this is description. All right. So whenever we switch, let's see, use set edit item. Here we go. So what we essentially need to do is this logic for each one of our strings, right? Which we might want to actually have. We might want to actually have a better way to handle this, but at least for now, this is the way that we're going to go. So we have, we need to get the fields first, right? So we'll add these in here. So instead of name, we want description, and then here, of course, description and description. And then we can change description here. And let's see, what was it's description string ID. Okay, so description and description and description. So we could probably like turn this into a function and then maybe just pass in you know, like the string or something like that. I'm not 100% sure, but we'll see. And then the other thing is we can take this and do else and say if field is description, then we want to set description string ID. And yeah, I think that should actually be everything that we need. So let's test that real quick. So when we actually go to health potion, now we actually see string ID 2 and then heals for use effect health, right? And so this is just a token replacement. Again, that'll be swapped out whenever we actually go to perform localization and string display. We'll actually handle these separately in the engine. So in this case, we want to say edit. It takes us to the right one. Okay. And then if we wanted to use this one for some example, then for example, we could click that string, go back here, and hit use active, and it would switch it to that, right? And then when we edit this one, it'll take us to this one, right? So we have a way to switch back and forth. I'm just going to do this again and use active one more time, just to kind of switch that back to what it should be. And that should persist. Yes, it does. Okay, perfect. So all we need to do is essentially change this up for the other strings, which there aren't that many in here. I think there's only 2 more, maybe. Equip effect and use effect. I think are the only other things that we need to actually have in here. So that should be pretty straightforward. Let's see. Utsob, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that over on the YouTube side. Why do I see JavaScript? So, Mahmood, I don't think you were here for the last couple streams. So what we are doing is we are actually building an item editor. And, I got thinking about it, and we don't have all these UI components built into our engine just yet. And we don't necessarily need them in the engine. But sometimes it's about using the right tool for the job, right? And so building an item editor is not something that's going to be released with the game. It's not going to be something that is part of the game engine. It's just a tool that we need to actually build the game, and then we're done with it, right? So it doesn't really matter how we build this, right? It doesn't have to be super lightning fast C code or anything like that. In this case, it's just an editor for us to be able to make items and essentially save them to a database file by selecting different items and configuring different properties and then exporting that. And so what we're doing is we're building an item editor in the browser, right? Because it's just really quick to stand this up. And then on the other side of this, we will write code in the engine to actually interpret this and use it within our engine, or more specifically within our gameplay code. Because the gameplay code really only needs to read from this database that we're creating, so it doesn't really matter once you get to that point, what this tool was written in, because it's pretty much throwaway after we're done with it, right? So I hope that makes sense. Sergeant Pepper, good to see you. Tammin, good to see you as well. Welcome. How are you doing? Good to see both of you guys. I hope all is well. All right. So I think I'm going to knock out the string properties first, and then we'll come back and do the other ones because they'll be a lot easier to handle. So I guess we'll hit up use effect string ID next. So that's just going to be use effect string, essentially, right? So let's take this all the way to, actually, you know what? Let me grab this first one too. We'll just take all of this structure here. And then up here, I believe we do have, use effect string ID is what we're going to use. So let's see, down here, use effect string ID. So I'm going to replace all of this temporary stuff with the actual code, right? So this is going to be use effect string, right? And then this is going to be, what did we call that again? I think it was use effect, right? Use effect, right? So we just need that prepended there. So this is going to wind up being, do I want to do, I guess I could just do it this way. That's fine. So we're just going to say use effect, right. And that should be fine for that. So that's all we need to do, I believe. One more. That's all we need to do for the HTML portion of it, right? And then we'll have this, which is basically going to set our item, right? So this is going to be, oh, we don't actually have that stuff set up yet. So we got to do this again. So this is going to be, instead of description, this is going to be use effect, right? And then this will just be use effect there. And now we can actually take this and do use effect and use effect and one more, right? And then all we need to do from there is take a copy of this, change this to use effect, right? Now, we could argue that this is kind of repetitive, right? And it is. But, again, this is a throwaway utility, right? So do we really care about that stuff? Not that much. We don't have that many fields, right? Now, we don't have a use effect ID. It's actually undefined, which is kind of an interesting thing here. So instead of undefined, did we not actually, I think when we actually said all of this, use effect string ID. Did I not set those? I thought I did. What is the... So the use effect ID is fourth from the end. Use effect string ID. So this should essentially be 1. So have we foobarred somewhere here? All of these look correct. So why would we be getting undefined when we set this? String ID, use effect, string ID. Oh, because we spelled it out, unlike the other ones. Oh, that's dumb. Let's make it consistent, right? Okay. There we go. Okay, so we have -1 in this case, which is also probably not something we should be... Well, I think we're saying at this point, like, if we're not going to have something, we could just use default string, right? So, like, we should be able to do this and then use active, right? And then when we switch back and forth, we should just have default string there. I think that's probably what we should do instead of -1. Which I think that is this one. Right, so yeah, default string. Okay. Wait, that was third from the end though. Didn't we have... Did I forget to add something for cooldown? I guess I must have. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Wait, 12. Did I not create enough? No, I did. Okay. That's not making sense, though. Oh, I was looking at use effect ID, not use effect string ID. Okay, it is correct. All right. Okay. So that was use effect, and then let's see, what was the last string that we had? Equip effect, which I think we said equip effect. We actually haven't specified any of this stuff here, so we should probably go ahead and set up some of this stuff. Equipment effect is kind of like it's kind of a property that we haven't talked about, right? Because these are just base items. And that's really string for an extended item type, which we haven't created yet. So I think what I'll do is I'll do equipment effect string ID, right? And we'll use 0 for that one, right? And then all I have to do is just do equipment effect, which I might want to just do equip effect. Yeah, I think I'm going to do equip effect, right? I'll rename these other ones later. So I'll have to do one more set of these things. So if we take this and come down here to equipment effect string, just do equipment or equip effect string, right? So that should be equip effect. Equip effect, equip effect, and equip effect. Whoops. There we go. It's a relief. I was worried. Yeah, no. Nope. We're still working in C as far as the engine in the game goes. Magetz, how's it going? Good to see you. Am I done web deving? No. Because we're still building. We're building the utility that we started technically a stream and a half ago, which is why I'm saying this is part 2.5, because we got interrupted by my rude allergies last time. So let's call that equip effects. Equip effect, equip effect, equip effect. And then we'll do this. Right, we're being super super dirty with this, but it doesn't really matter, again, because it's just an internal tool, right? I think that needs to actually be uppercase. Yes, okay. So instead of use effects, again, equip effects once there, and one more time here. Okay, and then we have this. Equip effect there, and equip effect there. That should, oh, did I change this? Yes, I did. Okay. So that should show us default string here, right? And we can set that to something else, but the fact that this is showing up means that field is working. Okay. So we're going to come back to equipment item properties and additional item properties later, right? The ones I'm really concerned with getting working for right now are these ones. And then we'll kind of come back to the other ones afterwards. So cost, value, weights, unique counts, all of these things, these are all, well, these are integers, right? This is a float. This is an integer. This is an integer. And then this is also a float. Now, technically speaking, this actually brings up an interesting point. Something I hadn't thought of. Let me pull up this up, right? Because what I'm thinking is like for different item types, right? And I'll use this example and I'll also use the WoW example. Which now I don't actually remember where that was. Did I bookmark it? I think I might have. Bear with me 1 second. Let's see. I think, did I save the WoW one? Yeah, here it is. Okay. So when we're talking about items, the fact that some of these fields are floats is actually giving me pause for a second. Thank you for the follow, by the way. I appreciate that. So the problem with floating point, right, is storage of that, because you never actually, like, there's floating point rounding errors because of the way that floating point numbers work. When it comes to JavaScript, your only value or your only types of numbers are either floating points or integers, right? So if you deal directly with integers, you're fine. It's nice and easy. Don't have to worry about that. But if we try to store like 0.3, for example, like in JavaScript, if you do 0.1 plus 0.2, you actually get that, right? Which, let me blow that up a little bit so you can see it. And so you get these kind of rounding errors, right? And I don't want to store the number this way. So there's generally two ways that you can go about this. And I'm curious to see what these two did. Because generally speaking, you don't really want to store a floating point in your database, right? So either you take that number and perform division in the client, right? So you would store it as an integer. In this case, just the whole number 3, and you would divide it by 10, right? Or 100 or whatever it is, whatever unit you need to divide it by. Or however many decimal points you want to go out, right? So you either store it as an integer, or you store it as a string and you parse it as a float later on for partial numbers, right? So those are pretty much your only options, right? I am leaning more towards storing it as an integer and then dividing it later on. But let's take a look at the spec. So this is Path of Exile, for example. So this is their item spec. So let's see. Do they have something here that would be a split type of number, right? Or a partial number. A non-whole number, in other words. Not seeing anything so far. Well, I would have figured that there would have been something in here, but I guess maybe not. Looks like everything they do is uints or ints, which is fine. Okay. So I guess that's fine. What about WoW, right? So let's see, we have different size integers. And all their stats in here are also, so this actually kind of tells me what I need to know. It looks like Oh, wait a minute. Here's a couple floats, right? They do store some stuff as floats. So that's kind of interesting. Especially for something that's important like damage, right? That's actually kind of surprising. I'm surprised that they do that, right? Because you could wind up, I guess they must be truncating the number or something. So that's kind of an interesting thing. That's actually really surprising that they store that as a float. I don't think I'm going to do that, though. I think I'm going to store everything as an integer and divide after we select out of it. Just to avoid that problem completely, right? Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. So that is interesting. I never would have, I kind of expected, if anything, that Path of Exile would do it that way, but it looks like WoW actually does it that way, which is actually really surprising. I don't see any floats in here whatsoever, which is what I would do too. I wouldn't store any of this stuff as floats. So, okay. All right. Well, I think that's the answer I need. So we're going to go with integers, and I guess we'll put, for things that can be partial numbers, we'll put a note that it'll be divided by 100, right? So for something like weight, we would probably either go by, like, I don't know if we want to support like 0.15, right, for weight. Maybe we do. I don't know. Okay, I guess we'll see. We'll try it. We'll try out some different stuff and see what works. All right. So, with that, let's actually kind of define some of this stuff. So let's see. Description, cost. Okay, so cost is going to be a whole unit, right? So I'm not really worried about that. We can put a description in here. The amount of currency an item is purchased from a vendor, right? And then value is basically the same thing except the opposite direction, right? So the amount of currency an item is sold to a vendor for, right? And so those can be whole numbers, that's fine. And then for weight, we'll actually do the item weight stored as int divided by 100 in the client is what we'll say, right? So let's do, we had this here. Let's see, what are the description, string ID, cost, value, weight. So this has got to be weight right here, right? So instead of 0.1, what we're going to say is actually we're going to say 10 for that, right? And I think that's actually the only one that was a decimal number at the time. So that should be relatively straightforward. The other thing is we don't have IDs for any of these things, so we'll just go to, we'll put ID, ID equals, and we'll put item cost value. And we'll do, oops. Oh, okay, it doesn't count it all as one move. Okay, so ID equals item item value, which is a little ridiculous sounding, but there we are. And then we'll do item weight value. So here, I'll just take a copy of this one, and we'll do, I guess it was item cost value. And then item of value, and item weight value, right? So weight and value. And then here, all we actually have to update now is just states, item, cost value. In this case, it's going to be value equals, and then we'll do item dots. What did we say that was going to be? I think it was just cost. Cost, value, and weight. Yeah. So we'll do cost. And then value and weight, and this will be value and weight. All right. So now, yep, that all came through. Perfect. Okay. So the rest of these should be pretty straightforward, right? Pretty much the same thing. Oh, cooldown was another one that actually is another one that we probably should do the same thing, right? Divided by 100 in a client. So let's actually do... Yeah, you know what? I'll get to that when we get to it. Let's actually just kind of continue down the list. Let's see. POA probably has tons of modifiers, so if you multiply and divide so many items, so many times floats could be better. So the only time that we're going to have to divide is when we're actually querying items out of the database, right? Because we're going to keep this stuff is not going to occupy very much memory, right? So we're only obviously going to load in an item once into memory as far as this data. This is sort of the base item data, right? Not the instance specific data, right? You can have multiple instances of items, but as far as like the individual items go, there will be an internal item table that was loaded from the database. So we'll basically load out of the database once, do that division then, and then from that point we'll probably store it as a float, right? It's just the loading it out of the database. I don't want to do a float at this point because I don't want it to be stored with a rounding error, if that makes sense. Nivy, how's it going? Good to see you. Do you have a background in web development professionally? Yes, I do it completely different for work stuff, but for this, it really does not matter. It doesn't matter how neat it is at all, right? My goal with this is I don't want a whole bunch of dependencies. I don't want to use frameworks for this. I don't want to use any of that stuff. I just want to use raw JavaScript and HTML. Keep it as light as possible. Keep it as simple as possible. That's the goal with this whole project. So I'm guessing you're asking that as to why I'm not using a framework or something for this. That's why. Because it's possible to do all this stuff just raw HTML and JavaScript. But yes, yeah, I do have quite a bit of experience doing that stuff. And I hate it, to be honest with you. But, pays the bills. Spiro. After my heart, this man. Yeah, I knew what you meant. I knew what you meant. Oh, speaking of that, I almost forgot. I have something to address. I was waiting until a few more people got in. Looks like we have a decent viewer base at this point. Let me pull something up real quick. Okay. Is there any way that I can just... All right, this should be fine. All right, so let me move this over here. So, yesterday, I posted this. Tried over the last few years to do things the right way from scratch using C and Vulkan. And I've come to the conclusion that it's just too hard. Not giving up, though. I'm going to port the Kohi game engine to TypeScript WebGL and embrace the inevitability that is OOP. Obviously, or at least I thought it was obvious, this was an April Fool's joke. However, it doesn't seem that everybody picked up on that. So, yeah, I'm going to set the record straight here, and I'll probably tweet about this later. A couple people picked up on it, right? But, yeah, I'm obviously not going to be porting Kohi to TypeScript WebGL. What I did find interesting, though, is between this and YouTube and Blue Sky, there was actually some interest in that, which I did find interesting for sure. So I don't know. Maybe that'll give me an idea for like something we can do in the future. But yeah, I figured I should probably set the record straight, right? Because I know that there were some people that were worried about that. So rest assured, we are not doing that. We are continuing on our path. This web dev stuff that we're doing right here is purely just a tool, and this is as far as it's going to go. Leave the web stuff to me. My game needs Kohi, right? It's going to happen. Nobody has to worry. Yeah, I mean, it will. Yeah. Spiro, why did your name change colors all of a sudden for like 2 messages and then change back? That's very strange. Actually, I found it quite incredible that you're doing it in vanilla. Yeah. So I just, this was kind of how I originally used to like do stuff back in the day. Lightweight, simple, no frameworks, none of that stuff, right? So I believe in keeping things simple, and this aligns with that. KDE has the find cursor thing from macOS. Yeah, it's pretty sweet too. Yeah, and it allows me to underscore things. So it could be like right here, you know, if I shake the mouse really quickly, I can do that and really underscore things. How big does this actually get? Does it just keep growing indefinitely? That's actually deeply hilarious. I didn't know it did that. It apparently will get... That's actually, yeah. Grows until you see it. How does it know I've seen it, though? How does it know? I mean, it's only the size of the screen, right? Does it just keep growing forever? Is it going to actually get larger than the screen? Like, look at the problem is if I stop, it stops, right? Like, I don't think I can see the cursor. They didn't put a limit on it. It just keeps scaling. That is deeply hilarious. There's nothing about that I don't like. Or it stops when you can't see anything. Look how comically large this is now. That's excellent. There's nothing about that I don't like. So I guess, I don't know if the Mac OS one works that same way, but something tells me they put a limit on it. That's very funny. Thank you for the follow, by the way. Let's see. Let's see. There's this if you want a GUI app. Oh, WebView stuff. Yeah, no, no, thank you, Magets. That's too advanced for what we're doing here. Can't be using web views. Don't have time for that. Might as well use SVG while we're at it. All these newfangled things, no, thank you. Okay. All right, I think I'm caught up now. All right. So, what did I say we were going to look at? I think it was the use effect ID, which in this case is not linked to anything, so we'll probably just pull that in as is. So I guess I'll do, that and unique count, right? So let's actually just do, let's actually do this. And I'm actually just going to paste this in here twice. And we're going to say use effect ID. And then this will be item unique count value. And so we're going to have to go here. Let's just grab this one. And we're going to do, what do we call that? I guess unique count value, and use effect ID. I guess we should say use effect ID value. Until we come up with something a little better. So let's do use effect dash ID value. And then here we'll just do unique count value. In here, then we can just do, oops, not that. We can do, oops, that should be item weight value. Shouldn't that be, yeah, that should be a capital. And then this one should be, what did we say that was? Unique count value. Unique count, God, I can't type tonight, value. This also needs an uppercase V. Must have accidentally lowercase that for some reason. So unique count value and use effect ID value, right? So we'll have unique counts and we'll have use effect ID. I think that's going to be everything we need there. Did I not get that right? Have I bollocks that somehow? Item use effect ID value. Item use effect ID value. Okay. Oh, use effect ID value. No, that's correct. Did I call it use effect ID in the item? I did. And then the unique count is also there. So I think I got the names right. Did I get? So this one changed, I believe. Let me set the unique count to something else. I guess I'll do... Oh, that's not taking either. Okay. Oh, did I not? Item unique count value. Item unique Wait. Yeah, unique count value. That looks correct to me. Am I missing something here? Have I bollocksed my typing somewhere and I'm just not seeing it? Helps to click an item. I really need to resolve that. Okay. Oh, these are both 0 though. That still doesn't seem right. Oh, did I click the top one, didn't I? There we go. Okay, so maybe I'll just have it default to like the first item. Let's do that. So I guess we'll do a call to set edit item using item ID 1, I guess. Select the first valid item. Set edit item 1. So that because I have to set the item, not the ID. Didn't I have a set by ID? I thought I did. No, it's string by ID. Okay, we could add that really quickly. So instead of set edit item, we can do. Let me move this up so I'm not programming behind my head. So we'll say set edit item by ID, right? Item ID. And then all this is going to do is call set edit item. And we'll do state items item ID. And then down here at the bottom, we could just do set edit item by ID. Okay, so now it automatically selects this. If I refresh, perfect. Okay. So at least that works. It's a nice library, to be honest. Yes, but it's a library. That's why I don't want to use it. It uses WebView 2 on Windows and WebKit, GTK on Linux. Yeah, but again, it's a dependency, right? I don't want any dependencies that I don't absolutely need for this project, period, across the board. I want to keep it as simple as possible. Okay. So we have max charge count and cooldown need to be handled next. And I think that's the end of the basic properties, right? So we have max charge count and cooldown. We can do, let's see, equip effect ID. Where was, here we go, max charge count and cooldown. So all we need to do is add an ID here. So we'll do ID equals, and then we'll do item charge count value. And then here we'll do item cooldown value. right? And for this one, this is also going to be divided by 100 on the client, right? So we're also going to store a whole number here as well. So we need to come down here and get, I guess we could just use this, right? That should be fine. So this is going to be max charge count value. This will be, let's see, charge count value, and then use effect ID value. I think we just called that cooldown. Yeah, cooldown. Cooldown value. No ID. And now we can come up here and do states item max charge count value is item max charge counts, and then oops, that should be value. Suppose I could call that like text box or something, but item cooldown value dot value equals item dot cooldown. All right, so let's see. We have the max charge count of 1 and the cooldown of 15. So just to prove that this works, come down here, change our cooldown or our max charge count to 2. Now that's 2, right? So I don't want to leave that at 2. But yeah, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. Let's see. Is that Snowden on your profile pic? He looks like a hacker on the run. That's actually me. And what's hilarious is you're I think the third person to say that over the history of the stream. That's a really old picture of me before I had all of this. Before I had the long hair. Well, in between times I had the long hair. And before I got old. But yeah. Yeah, Magets. Yep. You know it. You've caught me. Let's see. I keep external dependencies out of my main projects, but I use them grotesquely with tools I make. Yeah, I mean, but again, like, I plan on using this on several different environments, and I don't want to have to set all that crap up each time, right? This is easy to set up. The only thing that this requires is live server, and really, technically speaking, you could probably just run this from a file locally and not even do that. So it's really simple. Let's see. How many years of experience do you have with development? Development in general? I started writing code in QBasic when I was 7. I'm going to be 40 this year, so there you go. Let's see. In your old YouTube videos, you look younger than on your profile picture. Interesting. Maybe it was the low resolution camera that did it, right? I mean, like, even if I switch to this camera, right? Like, I don't know. See, I got the wispy hair and the old man beard and stuff like that. I think the Mac comes across a little bit clearer from that perspective. You know, that's a little bit clearer of a camera, but it's kind of in a weird spot, right? All right. So yeah, I hope that answered your question though about the experience, like professional experience. I've been doing this professionally since 2008. I I guess maybe a little bit sooner than that because I was doing some contract work before that. But yeah, I've been coding a long time. QBasic ought to date that a little bit for you. Let's see. Where'd my browser go? I need... Which one? This one. Ah. There we go. Okay, so we have this. So the next thing that we need to do is talk about these extended properties, right? So should I do that or should I? Yeah, I guess we should probably get all this stuff working, and then once we're set, then we'll work on getting the actual file stuff working. Okay, so equipment class is only ever going to be available, or all of this stuff here, equipment item properties, right? All of this stuff is only ever going to be available if the item type is weapon or armor. If it's neither one of those things, then those properties won't be available. Because these are the only two types of items that are equipable. Which I suppose, like, we did actually talk about shortening the name on some of these things. I should probably shorten this too while I'm at it. At least the display. Let's see. We can go ahead and do that real quick. There. Okay. So since these properties only exist with that, I'm tempted to kind of wrap these in like a is it a group? What do they call that in field set? Field set, I think, is what I want. Yeah, field set. All right, let's actually add, well, I can't do that though because this is a table. I could split it into a separate table, I suppose. Yeah, I think that might be worth doing. All right, let's do that. Okay, so where was... Okay, so this here. Let's do a table, a new table here, right? That should look identical for now. And then we'll do a field set, right? And we'll come down here at the bottom of this, and right before additional item properties, we'll split this table off again, and then close the field set, and then open a new table. Okay, so that kind of boxes all of this off, right? And I believe I can put a disabled tag on the field set, I think. Can I do that? I don't remember. I don't remember if it allows you to do that or not. It does. Okay, perfect. So, the reason we want to do that, right, is we only want to have these fields available when this is the correct type, right? So we could basically do like a change where we can say, take a look at the current item type. If the current item's type is weapon or armor, then we have these fields available. Otherwise, we don't. The other thing we could do, we could just hide these fields, right? But I don't like to do that.
Thank you for inspiring me to become a better programmer. I made a small ray tracing project, and now I'm learning Vulkan.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm really happy to hear that. That's and I'm glad it helped you. And thank you so much for the Prime for 2 months. I really appreciate that. Thank you for the support. Very much appreciated, and I'm glad it's helping you. That's awesome. Let's see. First time chatter, Soulfrack. Are you in the game industry as your main job? Not anymore. No. I left because I got tired of working 70-hour weeks. Doesn't mean I'll never go back if the right opportunity comes along, but yeah. For now, at least, I'm doing something a little bit more, slightly more relaxed, as it were, right? And honestly, something that pays better too. Three-legged chair watching the stream in class. Oh boy. What class is it though? All right. So yeah, I think good. It disables all these buttons. That's exactly what I wanted. Okay, we should probably have some sort of style on that, right? But what I'm going to do is we're going to have an ID here, and this is going to be equipment fields, right? And then what we'll do is in set item, right? Set edit item. We will take a look at, we'll say if item dot item type, if I can spell, if that is equal to, let me see, I think it was, what were the types here? 1 or 2, right? So if it equals 1 or item dot item type equals 2, then we'll actually need to do a selection on this, right? What did we call that? We called it equipment fields. All right, let's get that in real quick. So I'm just going to take a copy of this. Equipment fields, right? And we'll do this. Equipment fields, right? So we can do, if it's equal to one of these, then we can do state equipment fields dot disabled equals false. Otherwise, this is true. Incidentally, this is a bit of an anti-pattern that absolutely drives me nuts with a lot of APIs. Don't do this, right? Programming in the negative is usually kind of a crap thing, right? Don't have a field called disabled. Call it enabled, right? Because having to like flip that logic in your mind is just annoying. It's much better to have, you know, this called enabled. Now I don't have any control over this. This is the way JavaScript's been for 30 years. But you know, they should have gone with enabled for this, right? And so now it's like, well, if I want this to be enabled, then I have to set disabled to false, etc., right? So like one thing there is just like, it's always been a bit of a pet peeve of mine. If you are designing an API, don't design it in the negative. Always make your properties, you know, in the positive. Just in general, right? Qtlibs has these signal slots called set enabled and set disabled. That's even worse. Right? Like why, like just set enabled true or false. Simple. But then when you start like inverting things, like it gets messy. All right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create, I guess let's create a new, we'll create a weapon, right? So that'll be a type 1. And I guess we'll create a sword, which will be type 0, right? So let's see. So we have, this is the item type. So this is going to be 1 for weapon and then 0 for a sword, right? And we'll change these other properties in a minute. But what we want to do is just have a quick look at what happens when we come down here and... Oh, did we not... Did I set the wrong thing? Oh, that was name, string ID. Let's see, item type. Oh, right. I set the wrong thing. Name, string ID. Let's go with 2, right? And then as a... Actually, we need to go with 3. Come to think of it. Right, so we'll create a new string entry. I guess 2 new string entries, we could say. Let's see, how do we want to do this? I guess we could just do... So, in this case, we're going to say... Actually, let's do the rusty dagger. Right, that's always kind of what we've been talking about, like the first weapon that you get, right? So let's actually just do that. Right. Let's see, a dagger is type 4, so we'll have to remember that. So it is a weapon type, right? We don't have a description for it, so I guess we could add another string for a description for it. We can do that real quick. So we'll say 4, and we'll do a 4 here, right? And we can say it's dull, and actually, you know what? Let's do something a little bit more interesting. A certified tetanus injector. Right? There we go. Let's see, we need some commas here. Now, the problem is I don't have translations for these, so I guess I'm going to have to use Google Translate, right? Let's see. Where they have a decent API design. I actually like Qt a lot. I haven't used Qt in a while, to be honest. But it was... Last time I used it, I remember not being that impressed with it. But that was like Qt 3, I think. So maybe it's changed by then. Do you have ideas on how to keep C++ core and just wrap Qt on top of that? Oh, I think that's for Magets. Okay. Okay. All right. So, I guess let me do the old Google Translate. Let's see. Bear with me 1 second here. Here we go. Okay, so here is the term for rusty dagger in Brazilian Portuguese, right? So we want this. And then we'll go with this. And Taman, you can correct me if I'm getting this wrong, because I probably am. And when we actually go to do proper translated strings, I'm not going to be using Google Translate for it. But, you know, this kind of allows me to just kind of stand it up in the meantime. Oh, okay. The Japanese one is pretty interesting. That's all kanji. Sweet. I actually have this one first. for, and I'm not going to do this for every single one, right? We're just hard coding a couple things. Oops. Okay, and then this is Rusty Dagger. Did I not copy it? There we go. Okay, so that should get us close anyways, right? So we've got those, and then obviously we'll have to make a new type of item here. But I just want to confirm that this is actually working the way that we want it to, and that we can actually access those controls as we would expect to be able to do. Let's see. Here we go. All right, so if we go for the Rusty Dagger here, now these properties are available. If we select the health potion, they are not available. Perfect. Okay. So now we need to talk about, equipment item, or equipable item, I guess. Equipment item I think I'll stick with. Basically adds all of these properties, right? So the way that I'm thinking about doing this one, I'm going to move this up here for a second, is we have, I think it was all the way here to the top. We have this, right? And so we're going to actually have like equipment item, an equipment item function that then calls this. I think that's probably the best way to do it. So we'll take this. And we're going to say equipment item, right? And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to say this equals new item. New item, right? We'll pass through ID, item type, name, string ID, description, string ID, cost, value, weight, unique count, use effect ID, use effect string ID, max charge count, cooldown. I think that's it, yeah. Right? And then after that, we can actually modify and add all these other additional properties, right? So we should probably actually fix these up here first. So we'll have equipment class, equipment slot, equip effect ID. We already have the string ID that's already there. The different various effects. And then we have min and max damage and attack rates. And then we have additional, right? So this is going to be additional. I guess we could just say additional 0, additional 1, additional 2, stuff like that, right? Let's see. Dr. Elliott, how's it going? Good to see you. Welcome. Let's see. Thank you for all your video on Kohi Engine. I just landed my first internship in the gaming industry. It's a game engine and tool program. That's awesome, Sulfrak. Congratulations on that. I'm super glad to hear that. That's excellent. Abel Rashid, finally. Finally what? Were you able to finally catch a stream? Is that what you mean? Welcome. Yeah, Sulfrac, that's really good news. I'm glad to hear that. And I'm glad that this may have helped you in some way. That's the goal of this whole thing. So that's really awesome feedback, and I'm super happy for you. Okay. Equipment class. -1 is the default. I think that's fine. Let's take all of these and do this. I wonder if I have to actually, I don't think I can actually do this now that I think about it. I don't think JavaScript lets you do that now that I think about it. I think I have to do it this way, which is lame. But whatever. Copy pasta it is, I guess. Whatever. This is just a basic tool that we don't really care too much about, right? In terms of, you know, how it's coded underneath, because it's not going to get released. It's just a tool. Okay, so we have an equipment item. So the next thing that we're going to have to add is I'm actually going to do this, right? I'll keep the base properties up there, and then on a new line, we'll add the new properties. So equipment class, equipment slot, equip effect ID, equip effect string ID, strength effect, agility effect, mind effect, vitality effect, min damage, max damage, and attack rate, and additional 0, right? So all we're going to do here is we'll just take in essentially these same names here. So equipment class, equipment slot, equip effect ID, and equip effect string ID, strength effect, agility effect, mind effect, vitality effect, min damage, max damage, attack rate, and additional 0, right? Okay. We might actually have to add additional to item as well, because I'm thinking for key item types, we're probably going to want to supply that here as well. We'll come back to that though. All right. So, well, I guess maybe not, right? Because we'll have like a separate set of form fields for key items, I guess. So we need to add a new equipment item. So I'm actually just going to take this and go all the way to the bottom here, and we're just going to add a new one, right? And we're essentially going to append these properties onto this item here, which we already know is the Rusty Dagger, right? So this is going to be an equipment item, right? And then we're just going to tack these properties on, right? So we have equipment class, which is from here, right? So we already know this is a dagger, so that's type 4. And then equipment slot, in this case, is going to be main hand, or actually technically this could be, let's see, this could be a one hand, which means it can be either equipped in the main or the offhand, right? So we'll go with 7 on that one. And then equip effect ID, it actually doesn't have one, so I think in this case we're going to just do -1. Equipped effect string ID, we don't have one, so it's going to be 0. Strength effect is going to be 0. It's not going to affect strength, agility, mind, or vitality. The minimum damage, I think I actually had... Let me pull up the spreadsheet that we had here, that we started. Shoot, that's not the right one. Right, we had this. So what did we say for the dagger, which was, let's see. Which one was the dagger? I want to say it was probably this bottom one. Did we not actually set it? Yeah, we did set it up. It's this one. Okay. So we said the minute damage is 1, the max is 3, attack rate is 1.2. So we'll do min damage is 1, max damage is 3. And then we said attack rate was 1.2, right? However, if you recall our discussion, we're storing this as an integer, not as a float. So we are generally going to... I think we said we want to divide that by 100. Right? So I guess that would be... We would multiply it by 100, right? So we'd get 120. Right? So when we divide that by 100, we get our 1.2. And then our additional data for like quest item or whatever is just going to be -1 because we're not actually using that, right? So we can get rid of that. And then we should have, it should pretty much still show correctly here, right? But now it's an equipment item. So now we can actually fill out some of these other fields. Let's see. You lost your message? Did I miss one, Nivimi? I might have. Let's see. Why are you programming in JavaScript? What did I miss? Still stuck at episode 32 of the Game Engine series. Okay, so just to catch you up, at this point we're actually making a game. And one of the things that you run into when you're making a game is you'll need utilities sort of outside the engine to build stuff. And so what we're doing here is we are building an item editor. So this is a program that we're going to use purely for game development. This is not going to be released with the engine or the game or any of that stuff. It's purely an internal tool. And we can stand this up very quickly just by using a browser, right? It's just very simple sets of fields and stuff. We don't have all these fields in our engine, and honestly, piping all this through the engine is complete overkill. We don't want this in our final code that we release. We don't want any of this stuff in there. We want just a simple external tool to develop new items or to create new items or edit items that we can then take those, export them to a sort of flat file database, which we're going to build. And then we'll be able to read that in the game code, and be able to have all of this item information. So, this is a case of use the right tool for the job. And in this case, this is the right tool because it's very quick to stand up an editor like this, without having to build a UI essentially from scratch, because it's not really necessary for an external tool. And so we're going to use this to build all the items, to set stats for the different items and things like that. That way, when we bring it into the game, all the game has to do is basically read from that flat file database and perform the actions as required. It's easier than using I'm GUI and add more complexity to the code. Exactly, right? Like, I'm not using I'm GUI because we're making our own UI system and I don't want to add dependencies, right? But, doing all this in the engine would be completely pointless and overkill. So we're not going to do that. We're just going to keep this external, and it keeps all of the logic that's here, which we don't need in the final project, out of the engine. So it's completely separate. And we're not using any frameworks for this. It is just pure HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. No frameworks of any kind. And so there's no additional dependencies here either. So it's just nice and simple. You lost your message before Dr. Elliott. Oh, I see. Okay. Okay. So, what we had done before, I should probably extend this to kind of go down a little bit further, but what we'd done before is if we select the health potion, we can't edit this. If we select the rusty dagger, we can. So we could select, dagger here if we wanted to. And then, it remembers it. But we need to actually get everything to fill in. We need to get everything to fill in from this data that we have down here whenever we select an item, right? So that is going to be basically a process that's very similar to what we did for these. So we're just going to kind of go through that real quick. So let me just move that up here. And the first thing, obviously, is equipment class, right? So this is going to be an ID of equipment class drop down. So what we're going to call that one. And then while we're in here as well, we'll go ahead and, we'll go ahead and add this one. And this is going to be an equipment slot drop down, right? And then we can come on here. Let's see. I think we did. We could just copy this. It doesn't really matter. Let's just move this down here. And we can actually collapse this up a little bit, right? Okay, so this is going to be item, let's see, equipment. What do we want to call this? Equipment class drop down, right? So equipment class drop down, right? And then we can take this one and copy it again. Oops. And this is going to be equipment slot drop down, right? So we've got those, and then up here, what we'll do is, since we already have this set edit item, right? And we're already examining the type, right? If we are an equipable item, which we'll already know here by the item type, then we can set these fields conditionally, right? So let's just put equipment item types, right? So we can do states equipment class dot value equals, and then we can do item dot equipment class, and then we can also do the same for equipment slot. Right, and so now, if we bring this down, when we select the rusty dagger, if I didn't foobar something, undefined, setting undefined value, did we? That item type, equipment class, what was that again? Undefined setting value. Oh, that's because this should be drop down. Derp. There we go. Okay, so we have that. There we go. You can see dagger in one hand got set, right? So if we switch away from the health potion, right, we see that obviously it retains the previous set thing, which is obviously probably not what we want, right? And so we probably ought to set all these things back to defaults in the case that we are not actually in that correct type of item. So what I'm going to do here is, since we have null options here that are both -1, we're just going to set both of those to -1. Right? And then that'll be null. We select the rusty dagger. It sets the correct one, and then we select the health potion, and it sets that back. Right? Let me actually expand this. Let's see. I think we can actually do. Let's see. Didn't I have? I thought I had. Yeah, 502. I thought I set a height on this somewhere. Maybe not. Height, 500 pixels. Oh, min height. There it is. Okay. So we should probably do. I don't know. 650. 750. Sure. We'll just have this maximized, I guess. Or something close to maximized. I should probably think about a little bit more of a flexible way of doing that, but whatever. 750 is good enough for now. Again, it doesn't really matter. We're not looking for perfection here anyways. We're just looking for better. Okay. So, now we need to set all the additional other properties, right? All of this stuff. We're already doing equipment effects string, I believe. So, let's see. Equipment effects string is right here. So this actually ought to be set here. And then also set here. However, this should be set to 0, and then 0 and 0. So when we have whenever we switch items, it should just do that. I suppose we should probably create an equipment effect string just to kind of test that. I guess let's do, and I'm actually just going to paste English in here for all of these ones. Does absolutely nothing when equipped. Right, so we'll just put this. Oops. Okay, really? I thought I selected both lines. Apparently not. Right. I'll change that out later. The equip effect string was before the strength and all of that. So it's after equipment slot. Okay. So that's this one. So I guess we'll say 5 here. Let me see if I got that right. Yes. Okay. So it does absolutely nothing when equipped. Perfect. And then when we switch off of that, it goes back to default string. So the rest of these will be easy. Equip effect ID is going to be the next one. This one here. So obviously we'll have to do an ID, equip effect ID value. I guess we can leave that as is now. We don't have equip effects set up, so that will have to be just read it in and don't really do anything with it. So equip effect ID value. This is going to be equip effect ID value. And I suppose while we're at that, we should go up here and do states dot equip effect ID value dot value is equal to item dot equip effect ID. And I guess we can put that up here, right? And then we'll take this and put this down here, and we'll default this to -1 because not used. Okay, so health potion is not used. Rusty dagger is still not used because we didn't actually assign anything, so I guess that's fine. You know what, we should probably apply some of these properties so that we can make sure that these fields actually work. So that's going to be these 4 right here. So let's go 9, 8, 7, 6, right? And then we'll do, I guess we'll just set these all up at once. So let's do inputs ID equals str-effect-value. And I'm going to paste these in here and then just do vitality, mind, and agility, right? And then down here, we'll do, what did we say? So I guess we'll do str effect value, right? So this is going to be str effect value. Right, and then this is going to be agi. This is going to be the next one. No, I guess, well, let's do mind next. The vitality. No, wait. Agi was the next one. I was right. Agility. Agility. Mind. Mind. And then vitality. Vitality. All right, so we have those, and then we can come up here and do. I'm just going to actually grab this and do str effect value dot value is str effect, right? And then we can just do agility, agility, mind, mind, vitality, vitality. Let's make sure those work. 9876. Okay, so those do work. Perfect. And so min and max damage and attack rate are the only ones left other than additional 0. So, oh, we should probably also reset these to 0. There we go. Reset equipment item types. All right. That should be fields, not types. Okay. And this should probably be there. Perfect. Okay. So we've got just a couple more fields to add here. Nothing major. So this is going to be min damage value. Min damage value. And this is going to be almost exactly the same, except max damage value. And then attack rate. So attack rate value. Attack rate value. Okay, so this is going to be, actually, this is going to be ID equals min damage value. Right, and so this one's going to be attack rate, and this one's going to be max damage value. This one divided by 100 by the client. All right. So we have those. Now all we need to do is set them up here. So we'll do min damage value. Min damage. Max damage. And then attack rate value is attack rate. So then when we hit the rusty dagger, we should get min damage, max damage, and looks like attack rate was not set. That should be 120, I believe. Yeah. Did we get an error there? We did. So that is probably something we did here. So attack rate value. Oh, yeah, I spelled it wrong. Dingus-oriented programming. Okay. There's the attack rate. Perfect. Okay, so that looks pretty good. The only other thing we need to do is this additional, right? Additional item properties. So additional item properties is going to be a little bit different than the other types of items. In that, like, you have consumable items, right? Oh, I didn't want to change that. You have consumable items like the potion, right? Which doesn't have these. And doesn't necessarily have additional item properties of its own. The rusty dagger doesn't necessarily have that either. But if we had a key item, the key item would use this, right? And maybe some of these other, um, item types could also have that at some point. But my first thought is like the additional data is like a sort of an open-ended field that we could use, and we have 0.1 here, which is rubbish. It's going to be an integer, right? So for key items, we use that to signify the quest ID. So quest IDs are obviously something that we don't have set up yet, and that's okay. But we probably should at least set that up, right? So we are going to have the ability to pick up items that are specific to a quest. Those are going to be key items. It'll either be a quest or an item you have to access an area or something along those lines. And a key item will actually show up sort of in a different inventory, right? So it's not going to show up like a regular item. It'll kind of be in its own little section. And you can't really drop key items either, is the other thing. So it's going to be kind of separate inventory, but it's going to have a lot of properties that overlap as well, like all of these properties here. So what we should probably do is go down here and define one, right? Now a key item really is just an item that takes one additional property, but we're going to go ahead and do a new one of these, right? And we'll go ahead and call this key item, and this is going to take in quest ID, right? And this additional 0 is going to be quest ID, right? So it has all of the properties of a key item. It's just got, or of a regular item rather. It just has a different type of. It has a quest ID for the additional data 0, right? So when we come down here, we probably ought to go ahead and set up something for these, right? So we'll do, I guess we'll set up 2 new strings, sure. And again, I'll worry about translating these later. Right? We just want something in here to sort of give us a little bit of feedback as to whether or not the fields are working correctly. So, and here we're going to have, let me get rid of this period, by the way, that shouldn't be there. So here we're going to have, let's just say it's a skeleton key, right? And then as far as, I guess we could have a description text or like flavor text, right? Used to access locked areas or treasure chests, whatever, right? And so we'll take, let's do this, and we'll paste here and here, and we'll create a new item. So this item, I think I'm just going to do a copy of that guy, right? And so this is going to be a key item, right? And let's see. Oh, I don't think we haven't been updating the item IDs. This should be 2, this should be 3. And then the item type is going to be defined here. So the item type, it's a key item, so we want 3 for the, let me see, wait a minute. Is this, yeah, ID, item type, and then name and description. So ID is going to be 3, item type instead of 4, which would be consumable, right? We don't want that. We want key, which is going to be 3. And then for the name, we're going to use 6, right? That's the string ID, and the description is going to be 7. And then for the value of this, it's actually going to be 0, right? Because we can't purchase this item from a vendor. And then we also can't sell it to a vendor, so we're going to have 0 there as well. Let's see, and then we also have, let's see, it was cost value weight, right? So we'll just leave 100 in there, that's fine. So it'll be a weight of 1. Unique counts. So unique count, I think we have 100 in there right now. I guess that's fine, right? Maybe we'll just say 10, or maybe we'll say, I don't know, something like 69, so we know it's working, right? Use effect ID, use effect string. So use effect ID, we don't have anything, right? So use effect string is nothing. And then let's see, max charge count and cooldown, right? So so max charge count is going to be 1, right? And then cooldown, cooldown will be, I don't know, we'll just say 1 as well. And then the other thing in here that we're going to have is a quest ID, right? So quest ID, I'll just say something that's super obvious that we hard-coded it, right? I'll just say like 127, I guess, right? And so now what we should see is click on skeleton key. Oh, we didn't actually hook this up yet. So we actually need to do some additional stuff down here. Let's just make sure all the other stuff, this is all set up correctly. Sure. Okay. So that all looks good. This is all disabled. Perfect. Oh, did we not actually attack rate? We didn't zero out attack rate or min or max damage. That's a bug. This should be, these should be zeroed out. Okay. And then I guess we should probably also do we need to actually have that additional data field, which is going to be here. So the ID for this is just going to be, I don't know, item additional 0 value. Sure. And we're just going to change that to be 1 by default. Okay, so the other thing that we want to do is we want to have an ID here. And this is going to be additional, I guess, item additional 0 use, right? And so what we're going to do here, actually, maybe let's actually take this. Let's do this. Yeah, let's put that in a span. That way we don't have to worry about this being weird. Okay, so we'll actually have 2 different fields, or 2 new fields. Right, so we'll do additional use 0, right? And this will be item additional, this should probably be, yeah, I guess we could do 0 use, fine. So we have use, and then we also have, you know what, let's do, right, value. Keep it consistent. All right. So we have those. And then up here, what we'll do is for both of these types of items, we'll do states item additional, or what do we say? Additional use, right? Inner HTML. We're just going to set to additional 0, right? That's going to be kind of the default text that we're going to use in these two cases, because that's going to indicate that it's essentially not used, right? And then the other thing that we're going to want to do is we'll go ahead and set states additional 0 value, that value equals 0. Right, and we'll do that in both cases here. Now, the other thing that we probably should do here is the else case basically overlaps with the key item on everything except this one property, right? So we could do an additional check in here against the item type, which I think we said was 3, right? So we can say, we can actually just grab this and go here and say if it equals 3, right? So we have that. And then we'll do this otherwise. Right, and then we'll take these two, put them here. Tab these in. And what we'll do here is if the item type is a key item, then we'll change this to quest ID, right? And then we'll do item dot additional 0 here, right? Otherwise, we'll just change the text back to additional 0. I suppose we could also just add, let's just do this. Let's just put this here. That way we don't have to have this, right? Okay, so tab that back. Okay. So what we should have now is, so the rusty dagger doesn't give us anything here, but if we select skeleton key, now we have quest ID down here, 127, right? So the context of this additional item property changes based on what we have selected, right? So if we do health potion, it doesn't show anything. Otherwise, we have that, right? So this will at least give us a little bit more context depending on the actual item that we have selected. All right. First time chatter, Simplu, how's it going? Welcome. The Finn Golf, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. Let's see. What was that tweet April 1st? I was certain it was just you being silly, but it started reading through the replies. Couldn't tell if people were playing into the joke or if they were being serious. Yeah, so I don't think a lot of people actually knew that I was joking, which is actually deeply funny to me. But yeah. Audio Tour 03 over on the YouTube side. Hello, how are you? Yeah, so the, do I still have that up? Actually, did I close it? I probably closed it. Yeah, I closed it. Hold on. Let me grab this. Yeah. Yeah, so note the date that I posted this, right? But I was saying I've tried over the last few years to do things the right way, TM. From scratch, NC using Vulkan, come to the conclusion that it's just too hard. Not giving up, though. I'm going to port the Kohi game engine to TypeScript/WebGL and embrace the inevitability that is OOP. Obviously, I'm not doing any of this, right? This was a joke. But what was deeply funny to me was, like, some people picked up on it, right? But what was funny to me was actually there was actually some interest in this, which was I did not expect, right? So, yeah, I found that humorous. So maybe I'll keep that idea in the bank for the future, right? I probably will never port this game engine, but something tech Twitter and slash X has lost their sense of humor. Yeah, in some cases, I think there were enough people that picked up on it, but also on the YouTube side, there was a lot of people like, "What? No!" And I'm like, "Yeah, no, it's just I'm kidding." Because I posted that message in several different places, or the post, I guess. Yeah, it was pretty funny though. I was definitely amused. Okay, now there is a bit of a bug here that I've known exists, right? Oh, wait a minute. Did we actually set up? Yeah, we did. Okay. Basically, if you were to change the type to like weapon, right? This doesn't reactivate. So one thing that we're going to have to do is we're going to have to add some code in here to say if we change this type to use these fields or don't, right? So that's not a big deal, but it is something we need to do. I believe all we should actually have to do is I'm thinking on change, right? And we'll do an on change. Oops. It should be this on change. And we'll do, I don't know, on item type drop down changed. Right? And I'm thinking this is actually going to wind up getting called every time we change the item as well, which it may very well happen. And that's okay. I don't see that as being a problem. I don't think. But essentially, we'll just have to mimic one part of the logic in here. So I'm going to go ahead and put that here. So I'll just do function. Right, and we don't actually have any arguments to it because we could just get the state. So I guess we could do, realistically, all we really need to do is just this bit of the logic, right? So I'm actually just going to copy pasta this. And I'm actually going to copy pasta this. Right? And we don't actually need to do all this stuff. All we need to do is flip this boolean and then set this stuff, right? And in fact, I'm not even going to update the value at all, right? All we need to do is basically just change the display of this and flip this flag depending on the item type. And that should be sufficient enough to get us what we need to actually do. So let's go ahead and write that. And then I believe okay, so skeleton key. So if we select the rusty dagger and change that to a key item, is it not on change? Do I not have the right event? It's on, maybe, is it something stupid like on changed? I thought it was on change, but isn't it on change? On item type, drop down changed. Oh, derp. We don't have item here. That's why. We need to look at we need to actually look at this. Wait, no, not that. This. It's never going to change because none of this stuff actually exists. In fact, it's probably pooping its pants. Maybe not. All right, so let's just do... Oops. Let's paste this here. We'll do... we'll grab the type, right? And then we'll just do... I guess we could just call this item type. Right, and then we could just do away with that. And that. Whoops, that should be, yeah, okay. So if we change this now, that still didn't work. What in the heck am I missing? Yeah, it's definitely not getting called. Oh, I changed it to unchanged. I think that's wrong. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Okay, so it's getting called. If we change this to... if we go here to Rusty Dagger, for example, and change that to key. It is doing this, but it did not change that for some reason. Why did it not... Is it enabling or disabling the fields? Either. It did that part. Oh, not really. What is it? What does it have for the actual value? Oops. Value equals 3. So it definitely should qualify as this, but it's not. Is it treating it as a string or something stupid? Oh, that's really annoying. JavaScript, ladies and gentlemen. This is... Okay, that's really annoying. So the triple equals is basically saying that it is equal... It does like a type check as well, right? But like... Because the actual select, like an HTML select, like the value for this is actually a string, right? So like you can actually set the value to an integer like this and it works, right? But it converts it to a string when it actually does a set. But when you grab that value, if you don't convert it to a number, then doing a triple equals check will fail. One of the many things I hate about JavaScript. All right. Anyway, now that stupidness is solved, so if we go to Rusty Dagger and we change it to, let's see. So these fields are active right now, right? If we change that to a key item, these fields are inactive, right? Why didn't it blank these out? Well, I guess it doesn't need to blank those out, right? But it did flip this down here. So if I change that back to weapon, it's good, right? If I change this to consumable again, this is all, so it retains this, right? If I switch away from this to a different item and come back, it retains what is here. Let me see if I switch this to a key item and then switch to a different item. Oh, interesting. This isn't sticking for some reason. Probably for the same reason, because it's why would that not stick? Right? Like I should be able to change this to weapon. That doesn't stick though. Maybe it's because it's being created as the equipment item instead. But it's not actually, okay, I think this is going to be the same thing. Oh, I guess I have no way of... I don't think I actually hooked these up like both ways. Because I think even if I set cost and change away and come back. Yeah, that's why. Okay, we haven't actually set up saving items yet, that's why. Okay, so, I guess that makes sense. So how do we want to do... How do we want to do, like, saving an item, right? Because, like, if we click away from it, like, that's going to be something that we need to, first off, check to see if the item's dirty. Which I don't know if I'm going to bother even putting that logic in here, to be completely honest. Again, it's not something I'm going to release, but I do need to have a way to save it. So, we do need a button in here somewhere. To be able to save the item. I could put it down here but at the bottom, but that kind of sucks too. Unless I expand this more, which I suppose I probably ought to do. Where is the... Didn't I set a minimum? There it is. Let's try 850. Was it what, 900 maybe? 900 pixels looks good, at least on this screen. Let's do... Alright. I guess I could just slam the button down here at the bottom. Kind of sucks, but it'll work, I suppose. Okay, so if we think about the way that we're going to interact with items, right, we have this obviously to be able to edit items, right? We don't really have a way to create a new item. We do have a way to create a string, right? We have create new here. And then we have an apply button here. So I guess we just kind of follow the same thing, right? So I guess let's do the apply button first. So let's see. I guess we'll just go down to the bottom of this. Just throw a new div down here. And we'll do value is apply, and on click is going to be apply current item. Sure. Just make sure that looks pretty good. Space that out a bit, I guess. Sure. Okay. Apply current item. Guess we could put that here. So we do have the state current edit item, right? Which is set whenever we change items. So what we're basically going to have to do is the opposite of what this function does. So I'm actually just going to grab this code. And we don't need all of this, but we do need a majority of it. Okay, so let's do let item equals this, right? And then we'll do essentially the opposite all the way down. Right, so item dot item type equals this. I'm actually just going to do, let's see. All we need to save for this is just the string ID, right? So we don't actually need the second part of that. Oh, we already have that there. Okay. Okay. So we've got that. All right. Whoa. Okay.
I've
Raid.
been doing lead code questions in preparation for interviews. Kill me now. It is so boring and non-useful.
Diamond, I feel you. I feel you, my dude. Spheophoria with a raiding party of 93. Thank you so much for the raid. Welcome, raiders. We are actually doing web dev here at the moment, but we're actually, that's not the main project we're working on. So first off, thank you so much for the raid. What were you getting up to on your stream? I'll give you a shout out real quick. Oops. How did I... Hang on a second. I'm so sorry. I clicked the wrong button here. There we go. Okay. Please babysit them, need adult supervision. All right. Fair enough. All right. So... Let me see. How do I pronounce your name? What is it? Spheophoria? Sorry, I'm butchering your name. There we go. Shout out. Messing around with Raspberry Pi Pico, just trying to understand what the SDK is doing under the hood. Trying to manually poke and prod memory, mapped pins, etc. Oh, that sounds interesting. Okay. Very cool. That's how you'd say it. All right, perfect. Okay. Usually I butcher names. So, all right, let me give just a quick and dirty introduction as to what we're actually doing here. So this stream is not actually normal for what we do. But most of what this stream is based around is we are building something called the Kohi game engine. And it is a game engine built completely from scratch using C and using Vulkan as its initial rendering backend. So I'll go ahead and drop a link in chat to the website we're looking at now. This is sort of the central hub that I've started to build for the project. Basically, what this is it's kind of an educational exercise showing a way to build a game engine from scratch. Not necessarily the only way. It's not even necessarily always the right way, right? And as part of the educational exercise, we try different things. Try to see what works, what doesn't work, and then do deep dives into why. But this started off as a YouTube tutorial series. We changed formats a couple of times as the engine grew because eventually that just doesn't work. And we eventually landed here on the live stream format. So the game engine itself is free and open source, so it is available on GitHub. It is Apache 2.0 license, which means that you can use it for whatever you see fit, whether that be personal or commercial. Does not matter. There will never be any sort of licensing fees or royalties of any kind. This is purely designed to be open source and free. The only thing that I ask is that if you use it, you just say you used it, right? So we've got some a little bit of aged screenshots here. I need to actually get some new ones. We have a basic PBR or physically based rendering pipeline with cascading shadow maps, the ability to select objects within the world and manipulate them. We have all of our own UI system. UTF-8 text rendering works. All this stuff is built completely from scratch, with the exception of a couple of asset imports. Some of those things we utilized, like STP image and that kind of thing. But those are all completely external to the engine. Other than that, everything here is built completely from the ground up. So that is just a couple of screenshots there. This does run on Windows, Mac, and Linux. So it is cross-platform, at least for desktop platforms. I have other platforms planned in the future. And then, let's see. I think that's just about covered everything. Let's see. Thank you for the sub, Smudge. I appreciate that. Thank you for the follows as well. Very much appreciated. I will catch up on chat just a second here. We'll finish kind of going over what we're doing here. So yeah, there's links here to the YouTube and Twitch channels. We also have a Discord with over 1,000 people on it. And then there's another link to the GitHub here, and there's also the live stream down here. I don't have any sponsors or anything like that, so the only sponsors are you guys that watch my stuff. So I've got links here if you're interested in that. Otherwise, no big deal. This is designed to be not paywalled. It's 100% free, right? I don't paywall anything. So at least as far as the engine's concerned. So what we're doing now is we have gotten the engine to a point where we can actually start building our first game with it. This engine is very early in development, so it's not something that I would suggest people use yet, because I'm actually in the process of ironing out the kinks, right? We've started making our first game with it, and so as we're going through that, I'm kind of finding things that we need to change and do. And so we don't have a 1.0 release just yet. But we are making a 3D isometric action RPG. That's going to be our first game with this engine, which I know is a large project, but we've built the engine from scratch. I think it deserves to have a project, to show it off a little bit. So what we're building right now is actually an item editor, and I'm always a proponent of using the right tool for the job. And so we're building that item editor and raw HTML and vanilla JavaScript. So we don't have any dependencies, right? We don't have any frameworks. We don't use any of that kind of stuff. And so the sole purpose of this is for us to have a utility that we can use to build items, the RPG items for the game, the different types, and be able to configure those. So we're making a really quick tool here that is basically going to export to a database that our engine and game code written in C will then pick up and be able to read. But it just kind of makes sense to just do it in here because it's very easy and quick to set this up. So I hope that makes sense. All right, let me go ahead and catch up on chat here. Let's see. There is no right way, only the right way right now. Yeah, exactly. Yep, I agree. Respect the effort. I appreciate that. Sick, I'm working on an engine 2 around 1% of the way you are. You've accomplished a lot. Yeah, so I mean, we have... So where we're at on the engine so far is... like I said, we have our PBR pipeline, so we've got like a material system. We have imports of static meshes working. We have our own proprietary format for like textures and stuff like that. We have, let's let's see, we have static meshes. We have terrains, although I can't show them right now because they're currently broken. Height map terrains. We have just a basic skybox. We have a few other basic features, right? Animations are going to be something we need to add next. We've played around with physics a little bit, which we're going to need a very light physics system for this. So we're going to wind up using some of the stuff we've kind of played around with on stream and solidifying that and using that. And we have audio. We actually have 3D spatial audio using OpenAL as our audio backend. So this engine does feature like a plugin kind of configuration where the renderer itself, the Vulkan renderer, is a plugin, and that's because we do have plans on supporting Direct 3D as well as Metal, and maybe some others in the future. And so those things are actually plugins. So the application can actually choose which one it wants to use. And then our audio system works the same way. So our audio back end, we have a front end and a back end. The front end is basically the system as the engine understands it and interacts with it. And then the back end is the actual underlying implementation with the specific API. So, our rendering front end is the generic rendering API agnostic or graphics API agnostic logic, and then our rendering backend for now is the Vulkan interface. And so we'll have a Metal one of those, and then we'll have a Direct 3D one of those. And same goes for audio. Audio, we currently have OpenAL, but we might also support like things like Fmod and other audio systems as well. I appreciate that, Smudge. Thank you. Redeemed hydrate. Yes, definitely need that. I'm almost out of water, actually. Let's see. An engine in Zig. Nice. It is. Oh, you're doing it in Zig. Okay. I must have missed that. That's pretty cool, though. Not even JS doc. Nope. Yeah. So, like I said, what we're in the middle of right now is just writing a quick item editor for the RPG, and this is not going to be like an editor that gets released. So I'm not really worried about it being like a high quality solution or looking nice or any of that crap. This is purely just a tool for the game that we're developing, and then once the game's done, we're probably just going to throw this out. To be completely honest. And sometimes that's just the way it goes, right? So what we're in the middle of doing now is like we have the ability to select different items over here that we've created of different types, right? We have different item types, and those different item types have different sets of properties that can exist on them. And then certain special types will have additional data that is associated with them. So like the skeleton key is like a key item, which means it's like a quest item, right? And so when you select a key item, it has a quest ID associated with it. But like otherwise, it's just sort of additional general data that could be used for something else. So we'll have a few of these fields in here. So we just figured this out and got that working. And now we're in the process of making this apply button work, which will basically take the process that we have here of clicking an item and loading all of its properties into these controls, and it's just going to reverse that and apply them back to the base property. The other thing that we have set up here is you'll notice I have language up here. So we have a strings table, and all of these have individual languages. So we have support for English, Brazilian Portuguese, and Japanese. And so you can see here I've pasted some that I haven't translated yet in here. But we can actually we actually have localized string support. And so this is going to be super valuable when we actually go to set up our UI, because it'll give us a nice, easy way to handle these kind of things. And we've got replacement codes in here that we're also going to use because, for example, if we switch to English, just so you guys can see what this stuff is, this particular string says this heals for, and then the use effect health, which is pulled from elsewhere. And for English and for Brazilian Portuguese, that comes at the end of the string. But for Japanese, that becomes at the beginning of the string. So it's just stuff like that that I'm considering early on in the design because we are going to need it when we go to localize. I don't want to have to put this in later, so that's one of the things that we're building here as well. So it's called an item editor, but really it's more of a database editor that we're doing. And so we're basically going to build up a database and export that, and then the engine will pick that up and use it. I hope that makes sense. All right. Eyeless42, I must have missed the resubscribe there. Thank you very much for the resubscribe. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. Cool. All right. I think we're all caught up on chats. All right. So, where we were at before was I was essentially just, reversing these guys. So essentially, when we go to save, we have the item ID, the item type, the name string ID. We only have to save the ID. We don't have to worry about the actual string itself, so that's fine. And then we don't have to worry about like the edit button string ID or any of that stuff. So I can actually just go in here and delete some of those things out of here. And so let's see, we have the description. So we'll put that here. And then, see, what is the data type you're thinking about exporting? Bin file or SQL-like file structure? So it's going to be a bit of a two-part process, and I should have probably explained this also. So the way our engine works is in our application, under our assets, we have something called an asset manifest. And so what this is this loads out, it gives us a listing of all of the assets that we're going to potentially need. And right now we have to generate this by hand, which kind of sucks, but eventually when we get our editor up and going, this will be auto-generated. But basically what this provides is for each one of our packages, which you can have multiple, it provides at a minimum, an asset name and a path to that file on disk. And then it can optionally provide what is called a source path. So in this case, this is a tree static mesh, right? So the source of this is an OBJ file, right? And then the actual, what we call the primary path, is a KSM, which is Kohi static mesh. So essentially what happens is the engine, when it goes to load this thing called tree, it says, do we have the primary path here? Does this exist? If not, then it says, okay, do we have a source path? If that exists, then go ahead and run the import process to convert automatically from this process, or from this format rather, to this format. Write this to disk, and then load it. And so the reason that that's relevant is this application that we're writing here is going to essentially output what amounts to a source asset, which is going to be kind of like an INI type of file format with CSV records. And the reason I'm doing it that way is because we're going to import that into the engine, and then the engine is going to take that and do whatever processing it needs to, and essentially load all of that into a giant struct, and then blit that out to a binary file. And that binary file is what is going to wind up being loaded by the runtime. So it's literally going to just be a giant block of memory that's going to exist. And so all of these different fields are going to be set up in a data-oriented way, indexed and all that, and it's going to be essentially a flat file database, but it's going to be organized for fast data access. I hope that makes sense. It's a bit of a multi-part process. Okay. So this is just kind of the first step in that. And I'm thinking we're actually almost to the point where we're going to start writing out that INI file. And then once we get to the point where we're writing that out, we'll go back over to the C side and we'll start writing the importer for that on that side. And we'll get all that set up. Hope that makes sense and answers your question. Okay. Oops. And for some reason, my auto formatter for JavaScript is not working still. So I've got to figure that out, but I'm not going to do that on stream. All right, so we have this. By the way, this is an interactive stream, so if you guys have any questions about what we're doing or any questions about the project, feel free to jump in and ask. I should point out, though, that generally speaking, I'm like close to ending time for the night because I do have to get up and go to work in the morning. So if you haven't followed me, I would ask that you do, because we will be back tomorrow night doing more of this system. Probably not as much of the stuff on the JavaScript side and more of the stuff on the C side, I'm thinking tomorrow. Because we're pretty much, I think, we're getting pretty close to done with this, at least to be able to kind of test it out. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. All right. So when we are saving, if we have, I wonder if I should always just save these regardless of item type. I think I should, because if we change the item type, but then we want to change it back, we'd lose this data if we don't save it. Yeah, I'm always going to save this, I think. Yeah, so we'll include all of this stuff as well. We don't need that. Don't need those two. And then we're always going to save this. And so we don't need this either. I use Arch, by the way. Yeah, me too. I actually named my my machine Arch, by the way, for the memes. Because people kept asking me what I was using, and I'm like, I use Arch, by the way. So at least now it's down here, you know. That makes it official. Let's see. That's hello in Arch Kuru language. I love it. All right, let's see. There's got to be some Vim motion that would be quicker at moving these things around. I just don't know what it is. I feel like there's got to be a quicker way of doing this, right? Like maybe I can record a macro, right? So like, let me try. Let me try that. If I do it here. I think that was how you do it. So I think if I go here, I'll be dipped. It worked. Okay, cool. So I guess I just have to do that repeatedly. I wonder if, does the period work with that? No, it doesn't. Yeah, okay, so that's a little quicker anyways. All right. Cool. So that's the apply. So now, when I come over here to this guy, let me just set this cost to like 20. Hit apply. Hopefully we didn't get any errors. Let me just double check that. Nope. So I'll click off of this to another item and then go back. Yes, it's saved. Perfect. Okay, so oh, it zeroed out all my stats though. Let me think, why did it do that? Yeah, it zeroed out all this stuff. And it doesn't let me do this anymore. Interesting. Oh, I bet I know what happened. I bet I know what happened. I'll bet it's that dang JavaScript string crap again. When we handle drop-down values. Because I didn't parse it to an int. In fact, I'm fairly certain that's exactly what it is. Let's see. So yeah, because this is going to give me this. This is going to give me this value as a string, which is not what I want. So what I need is that. So I need it for. Let's see, item type. Which drop downs do we have here? This one, equipment class, and equipment slot, I think, are the only three. So we need around these two. I don't remember if I have to have the radix or not. I can't remember if that's an optional property or not. We'll find out. All right, so rusty dagger, we do weapon. Let's change this to 20, right? Apply. Switch away from it. Switch back to it. Yes. Okay. If we change this to armor, right, and we change this to, I don't know, boots, whatever, and then change this to leather. Apply. Switch away from it. Come back. Yes. Okay. Cool. So it retains all this stuff. Let's see. I use by the way. I love it. Let's see. By the way, yeah. I think it's a weird flex when people install Arch the hard way. It's not a skill you need every day. That's true. Manjaro. I think that's fair to say you're in the Arch game if you use Manjaro. Sure. Installed Arch my 12th time with Arch install. Yeah. 12th time because I was trying out desktops and window managers. Yeah, that's the best way to try it out, honestly, is on a new install. Okay. Most of the things are set up out of the way. I like it out of the box. Yeah, that's fair. Download more ram.com. Yeah, if only it worked that way, right? Why not use TypeScript? You could have avoided this because TypeScript requires a build process and requires that you install npm packages. So that adds dependencies, which I don't want to. I'm trying to avoid dependencies at all costs, wherever possible. Let's see. I just started following your game engine series. Might be a dumb question, but would you recommend go through Handmade Hero series first, then jump to your series? Goal is to make a semi 3D side scroller. As for Handmade, it's more concentrated on 2D side. Your project is a 3D engine. So that's kind of a loaded question. I would say yes, right? Because he gives a really good intro to C, among other things, right? So the first few dozen of the videos, definitely. He starts off in 2D and eventually he does jump to 3D. So I would say, that's definitely a valuable thing to follow along with as well. We do cover a lot of the topics that we have to get through on, to get to this point. We do have a lot of that stuff, but I also skip over some of it too, just to keep things moving, right? So there are periods of time where I'm just like, okay, well, here's the formula for this, and here's the overall thing and how it works, but we're not going line by line because we'll be here forever if we do, right? So I do skip over some stuff. Eventually I have to start skipping over a lot of stuff because a game engine is huge, right? But we do start off line by line when we start the series, but eventually, we have to pick up the pace. So yes, I would say that's an excellent resource. Definitely do go through that. And then, if you can do this one as well. If you already know C or C++, you should be able to start this series just fine, though. So it's up to you. All right. Let's see. Skipped my message about making Google Drive your swap partition. Jeez. Yeah, no, I'm all set on that, Magats. Yeah, the messages over there scrolled kind of fast, so I think I did miss some of them. Let me see. Let me see if I can find that one. Yeah, I think it's just lost the time. Anyway. So this is going to do it for tonight. Like I said, I do have to get up in the morning and go to work. So if you haven't already, definitely toss me a follow. I'm going to find somebody to raid. Let me see who is on. All right, we're actually going to raid Spiro because he's a good friend of mine. And he happens to actually be on right now. So we're going to raid him. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. Yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. I am going to be back tomorrow night for a continuation of this. So thank you guys for being here. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.